Hello, thank you for tuning in. In this video, I wanna review the latest chapter of One Piece, chapter 1037. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give my predictions for next week's chapter, chapter 1038. So stay with me. So the chapter overall had a good vibe. I think we got lots of different scenes. Starting with the fire festival, seeing how the citizens of Wano celebrate the festival. Continuing with the fight between Luffy and Kaido, being covered over so many pages and getting such an extended fight scene between them without being interrupted by any shift of scene. And lastly, a conversation between the five elders, the Gorse, and the world government fleet in front of Wano, being approached by Zou, the walking island that is the home of the minks. All of these scenes very interesting for different reasons. So let's go over them and analyze why this chapter is so important. The first scene of the citizens celebrating the fire festival and drinking together reminds us of this mindset and the situation that the citizens of Wano have lived in, this oppression, and how this is their only day that they can let loose a little bit and that they celebrate and send their wishes and prayers to the sky in hope that their situation might get better someday. This drinking and partying sets the stage for the second scene, which is kind of interesting the way it's made. We have a really nice fight between Kaido and Luffy, some nice exchanges of blows, and at the same time we have Kaido shifting through different phases, through different mental states as he gets drunk, from laughing to sad to crying and finally angry. And we see, even if he's just giving us snippets, short comments, that there is a deeper personality below the surface of what the character Kaido makes it seem. It's like a puddle that looks very shallow when looked at it from the distance, but is actually kind of deep the way it seems as we approach it closer and closer. Two comments during the fight that stand out to me are: number one, I'm enjoying this, but the castle and island are half destroyed. Talk about useless. Seems like I can't even protect one lousy castle. And I did my best. Phew, but maybe that's just not good enough. These two comments seem to imply a certain amount of self-doubt into whether or not Kaido is capable of what he wants to do. Self-doubt about whether or not whatever he was planning, trying to achieve, would actually be possible to do for him. We also get some nice action. Kaido, as he gets drunk, seems to take on some kind of drunken style fighting stance, which seems to make Luffy lose his train of thought in a way. Him getting having to take a few hits from Kaido, strong hits, and he even remarks that Kaido's haki seems to have improved, and this drunken style might be some kind of reference to drunken style in Kung Fu movies seen from Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan. Luffy, after taking back his composure, remembering himself that he's gotta keep up his guard, gives Kaido back a blow. So we see clearly, yes, Kaido does seem to be able to improve and take the fight a bit more serious, go a notch harder, but it's not like he can toss Luffy aside if he were just to take this fight more serious. We see he's taking the fight serious, and Luffy is on equal terms with Kaido, which is something that is commented by Kaido in the chapter, with Kaido's comment, "You dumbass. Getting drunk won't weaken me, and I've already acknowledged your strength. I can't remember the last time I was challenged to a serious one-on-one fight." The fight ends with both of them going out with their strongest move and clashing with everything they've got. And this chapter, which was kind of comedic and where I was expecting it to be more character focused on Kaido, always had that action mingled in between and then culminated into a real densely packed action scene where we see intensive blows being exchanged between Kaido and Luffy. That's something I did not expect to see for this chapter, and of course to my delight, and I think the reader's delight, it was an amazing chapter and amazing action that Oda spoiled us with this week. The final scene is a conversation with the Gorse, the five elders, where they seem to take the matters happening at Wano quite seriously, and using this chance to get rid of Nico Robin, as she seems to be a huge obstacle in the face of the world government due to her knowledge of how to read the ancient language and possibly unveil knowledge and information that the world government does not want to be unveiled. And using this chance to snatch Wano from a weakened Kaido. More important than that is where halfway in their conversation, a shift happens to the world government fleet being approached by Zou, the walking island which is home to the Mink tribe. And a huge bomb gets dropped, a huge information bomb about an alluded and mystical or mysterious devil fruit. We don't know what kind of devil fruit this is, what kind of abilities attached to it, if it's a Zoan. We don't have any information yet if it's a Zoan, a Paramecia, or a Logia devil fruit. We don't have many hints, but when they speak of the devil fruit, we have Zou in the same picture, implying that the devil fruit that is talked about by the Gorse, the five elders, might most likely have something to do with Zou. Zou, being a giant elephant, might give the implication that this devil fruit might be some kind of special Zoan devil fruit, and one of the devil fruits that grant animal or prehistoric or mythical animal abilities, which actually would explain what even Zou, the elephant, is, because One Piece is a crazy world with some crazy beings, animals, and things like Kung Fu seals, fairies, and stuff. But the giant walking elephant, which was so enormous that it housed an entire forest and a city, was even a bit crazy for One Piece standards. Like, what's the explanation behind that giant elephant which supposedly could communicate with Momonosuke and Luffy? And usually the way it is in One Piece, if things are a tad too crazy, even for One Piece standards, it's usually explained through devil fruit magic. So that would make actually sense to explain Zou to be the result of a devil fruit, or actually be a devil fruit user. My favorite 3 moments of this week's chapter, not in order of how much I liked them. Moment number 1, it's actually the title picture. Germa 66 Cold-Blooded Voyage Log Volume 2. Judge lets out a heavy sigh. So it's nice to see Germa well and kicking, so that confirms that they will be at least kinda playing a role in the future, I think. We can take from this single picture that Germa's castle took some damage. I presume this is still from the fight with Big Mom pirates. They seem all fine, so I hope to see them again soon and play an important key role together with Sanji, as I think there's still some dynamic to get out of that. The lemon hasn't been squeezed to the limit yet. I think there's still some juice that we can get from that Germa 66 family, Sanji turning Germa plot to be seen. My second favorite scene, the second moment out of my 3 favorite moments, the exchange of blows between Kaido and Luffy, especially the moment when Luffy is using his Gatling meteor shower and they go all out, and we just see a panel with just fists and Kaido's club being violently thrown, and they just clash with all they've got. And we see Luffy having to take a hit, and just in the next picture, Kaido taking a hit from Luffy. So it's pretty much displayed that they're just equal, that they are fighting on equal terms here. And it's just this wild fight and this wild exchange of blows. Luffy finally standing toe to toe with Kaido, probably the strongest of the current emperors of the sea. My last favorite moment of the manga is, of course, the last page with Zou appearing behind the world government fleet. It's just a combination of this big revelation of a devil fruit that doesn't even have a name, that was completely erased from the annals of history. And while the Gorose say these words, we see the shadow, the ominous giant shadow of Zou appearing behind the fleet, striking fear probably into the hearts of these poor soldiers, as we've seen how strong, how devastating just a single swipe of its trunk is. I think it will be interesting to see if this is just a plot, a means to save Wano and the Straw Hats after they're probably going to be tired and exhausted from the fight with the Beast Pirates, with Kaido, to save the day and to save Wano from the world government. Or if we will see Zou playing a bigger role and this leading actually into a bigger, more massive conflict that Zou, the giant elephant, will play a role in. This last page is just so intriguing, as it seems we are moving closer to more big revelations. For my resume for the chapter, a mangaka is only given a certain amount of pages each week. That's about 18 pages for One Piece. And most pages, I think, fall either in one of 3 or into a mix of the following categories. Chapters that drive the plot, chapters that build character and develop personality of the characters, and lastly, action chapters with fight scenes. A chapter rarely ticks all 3, but I think this chapter, this week's chapter of One Piece, chapter 1037, did that masterfully. This chapter one more time exemplified how well Oda combines world building, fight scenes, giving us some new revelations here and there, and also building characters and developing the personalities of the characters all in one chapter. So, for the next chapter, next week's chapter 1038, here's my prediction. To see such an exchange of blows and to see Luffy and Kaido already giving it their all, seemingly going in with their strongest moves and clashing toe to toe, this barrage of blows that they exchanged. So this seemed like it was almost like a final encounter. So I don't believe the manga will let us wait a lot more. I still doubt that we will see a conclusion of Luffy versus Kaido in the following chapter. So for chapter 1038, I doubt that we see a conclusion. There will be no result. We won't see Luffy beating Kaido yet. There's just so much more to clean up before Oda can show us the main fight, the main course being served. So before Oda can serve the main course, which is the conclusion of Luffy versus Kaido, Luffy hopefully beating Kaido finally, we need to see the conclusion of the other fights before. Or at least that's how Oda is doing it usually. Anything else would be kind of anticlimactic. But instead of talking about what I expect not to happen in the next chapter, I want to talk about what I expect to happen in the next chapter. And my prediction for what's going to happen in the next chapter, chapter 1038, is pretty much my prediction from the last chapter, or from last week's chapter from last year. So, same prediction, it's just shifted, and I'll repeat myself. I expect the next chapter to tackle one of the minor conflicts, or minor in the sense of not the two big ones, not Kaido, but also not Big Mom yet. Maybe we will see a short shift of how Kid and Law are doing against Big Mom, but I don't expect them to have the conclusion of their fight yet. So I don't think we will see Big Mom getting defeated. Maybe a few pages, maybe 1, 2, or 3 pages, a short dialogue, and maybe some update on how their awakenings work, how it fares against Big Mom, and how their current state is. But I'll then expect the shift going to Yamato and the situation with the fire yokai, with the fire spirit, or Orochi and Hiyori Kozuki, aka Komurasaki, and or maybe a blend of the situation of her and Orochi and Momonosuke, as I still think Momonosuke needs some adversary that is more than just the challenge of keeping up the island. He needs a real personified, a real adversary, a real antagonist in person, a personified challenge. And who can that be better than Orochi? And I think that might be a fair matchup, as Momonosuke is still at this point yet. I doubt that he's as strong as Oden, even with a grown-up's body. And Orochi, he doesn't seem to be too much of a pushover, so even with that mystical devil fruit, he should be not too much of a challenge. With that I mean, he should still be decently difficult to challenge, but something that is manageable for an adult Momonosuke. That will be a question. Will it be just Hiyori who's going to take on Orochi on her own? Which is something that I would also kind of like to see, to make her more important, to give her some growth, and to show if actually she has some kind of ability, or if she's capable of anything, due to devil fruit or swordswomanship. Considering she did inherit one of her father's swords, but exchanged it with Zoro's sword. So she changed her father's heritage, Enma, versus Zoro's Shisui. So she should be in the possession of a sword, and her being the daughter of a samurai, I would like to see her display some skill with the sword. Or if she will get some assistance from someone else or Momonosuke, her brother. Maybe it would also be a nice team thing seeing both Momonosuke and Hiyori take on Orochi as brother and sister. But that, I think, is something that we might not see yet in the next chapter. Another loose story thread is her relationship with Zoro, but Zoro seems to be out of commission or sleeping right now. So who knows if that's something that we see continued during the raid or after the raid. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you enjoyed my review and resume of this week's chapter and my prediction of next week's chapter. Due to One Piece popularity, I'm thinking if I'm going to do some early spoiler video once spoilers hit the net. So stay tuned, subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. See you again. Goodbye.